So before continuing into learning how to create Xamarin Classic applications, I want to touch two main updates that have recently been released for Xamarin Forms. And both of them are focused on making your Xamarin Forms applications more efficient. So we know that creating Xamarin Forms applications is great because it lets us reuse up to 100% of the code and the UI between Android and iOS. But until now, the elements that we have been adding into the UI work a little bit less efficient than native controls. So this and the next lecture are going to be focused on using some of the latest features of Xamarin Forms to make your UI more efficient. So far, and by default, the way that our buttons, our labels, and our entries are rendered is that they are wrapped up into a renderer. And then the actual button, the actual UI, is rendered inside of it. Well, in this case, the button, but this also happens with labels and entries. Whenever we define one of these elements, what we get is first the renderer, and then this translates into UI button for iOS and an app compat button in the case of Android. Now, thankfully, Xamarin is aware of the issue that this generates and has been hard at work at making something that makes this not an issue anymore. And that is why now with fast renderers, there is no renderer anymore. You get the native element right away. So this effectively cuts in half the amount of resources necessary for you to have a button, an entry, or a label on your user interface. So we've taken a very brief look at how these fast renders are going to work on Xamarin Forms. Now let's jump over to Visual Studio and actually implement fast renderers into our Xamarin Forms application. So here in the Travel Record app, there are a couple of steps that I need to perform in order for it to start using fast renderers. It's going to be very straightforward, but it's important that we follow these steps. The first thing is to make sure that we are using the latest version of Xamarin Forms. Like I said, this is something that is new to Xamarin Forms, so if we're using a previous version, this just won't be available. Just go to your solution, right-click on it, and select Manage Node.js Packages for Solution. Here you will have to navigate to the Installed tab and find the Xamarin Forms package. If you find it, and like in my case, you see that it is only the version 2.3.4 or something that is not yet version 2.4, it means that you have to update your Xamarin Forms packages. So all you have to do is go to Updates, to the Updates tab, and again, find Xamarin Forms. At the moment of recording this video, for example, the latest version is version 2.5. So I'll make sure to select it and to select all of my projects so all of them receive this update. And I will click on Install, making sure again that I have the latest version, the latest stable version selected. Once all of your projects have been updated to the latest version of Xamarin Forms, you'll be able to close first this package manager and navigate to both the Android and the iOS applications and open, in the case of iOS, the app delegate, in the case of Android, the main activity, and right before calling the init method from the Forms class, we will have to call another method from the Forms class. So let's write down the namespace again, which is xamarin.forms, and access the Forms class. And now you will be able to find a setFlags method. This is a new method that is only available because we updated to a newer version of Xamarin Forms. If you didn't update to at least 2.4 something, you won't be able to see this new method. It is in the setFlags method where we are going to tell our application that we want to use fast renderers. And it's in here where we're going to pass fast renderers _ experimental. And this same thing has to be called then from Android as well. So right now I was on the app delegate for iOS. Now I have to open the Android project, more specifically the main activity. And again, right before calling the init method from the Forms class, we are also going to be calling the setFlags method. and passing fast renderers underscore experimental as a string. And that's it. That's everything that we have to change. Now, when you run your application, it's actually going to be rendering all of the buttons, all of the labels, and all of the entries without the renderer, so they are more efficient. The change is minimum in small applications, but as your application grows, it's going to make your UI just much more smoother. Something definitely for you to keep in mind when you create Xamarin Forms applications that have many UI elements. So this is everything that we have to do. We have now learned how to add fast renders or how to make our applications use fast renderers to make the UI more efficient. In the next lecture, we're going to keep making our UI more efficient by implementing another new feature of Xamarin Forms, which is called layout compression.